We begin in the Free State now, where the 9th ANC provincial elective conference is expected to finally get underway today. The first day was filled with drama after the registration of delegates was disrupted by disgruntled members. NEC member David Mahlobo has condemned those responsible and says the conference will proceed, and that's despite any attempts to stop it. eNCA reporter Moloko Moloto caught up with him and has more developments around what is happening today. Moloko Moloto, obviously you've been engaging many of the delegates this morning, and their optimism around the conference getting underway smoothly, with a leadership being elected to take the province forward. What are you getting in terms of the official program getting underway today?
Hello, Rafiwa. Well, the official program is delayed. They have already lost a day. Yesterday, they were supposed to have started with the official open, one that would also be open to members of the media. That hasn't happened because they have had to deal with the disruption of their registration process. Delegates, as they were lining up at the Bitrus Molemela Stadium, where they were disrupted by unhappy members of the ANC who believed that some of the people who had been there as delegates were not legitimate delegates nominated by branches. So today we spoke to Obak Fabane, who speaks for the ANC in the province. They were supposed to start officially at 9 o'clock. That hasn't happened. And the expectation is that this would be opened by the national chairperson of the ANC, Gwere Mandashe, and the party president, Cyril Ramaphosa, was meant to close it on Sunday. We don't know, since they have lost a day, as to whether they would be extending to Monday or they would try to compress everything, both the nomination and the election of the top 5 leaders and the additional members of the PEC, but also discussions as far as policy is concerned, decisions and resolutions that they will have to take. We don't know whether whether they will have time to deal with all those today and tomorrow.
And that is a very important issue here, and we've seen this issue across different provinces last year, Moloko Moloto, when they were hosting their provincial conferences, that there are delays that occur, but seemingly, as past events would show us, they usually are able to finalize everything, albeit a little bit late, in due course. In terms of leadership and following through on the policies that were ventilated during the national conference in December, are they having that political will as well as confidence to be able to carry out those policies and ultimately do what needs to be done on the ground in terms of providing services to the various municipalities or communities in the Free State that we see live in dire consequences?
So, Rafiwa, in almost every conference of the ANC, there's always a disagreement on the credentials. Credentials here, we are simply referring to the legitimacy, the integrity when it comes to the delegates who would be in this conference. They would have to ensure that any person who is in this conference is supposed to be here. Oftentimes, obviously, the conference, before it can even begin with its main business, it must first adopt the rules of this conference. It must also adopt the credentials report. And already having seen that there are people who were worried about the process of registering, you can almost expect that when it comes to the adoption of the credentials report, there's going to be a disagreement there, and it may even delay this conference even further. And this province of the Free State, we know that the factions are deeply entrenched here. This particular provincial conference was postponed several times. The last time it was postponed, it was just shortly before the National Conference of the ANC, and a decision was therefore taken that they would rather postpone it to this year, and it's supposed to be taking place today. And if you look at the fact that almost all the senior people here, the names of Xolisi Dukwana, who is currently the convener of the ANC in the province, that is a position that's equivalent to chairperson of the province. So in a way, he is the incumbent. You also have somebody who previously was the mayor of Mangaung, Ndade Thabo Manyoni. He also is contesting for that position of chairperson, and he's very close, that's Thabo Manyoni, to the former Secretary General of the ANC and former chairperson of the ANC here, Ace Magashule. In fact, when we spoke to him, Thabo Manyoni, sometime last year, when he confirmed that indeed he is standing, he pointed out that, look, I do get in touch with people who worked with Ace Magashule, but I know for a fact that he also does talk to Ace Magashule, and he kind of like enjoys support of Magashule in that regard. But also there's the name of Sisi Ntombela. She is currently the premier of the province, but she's also the somebody who is responsible for the finances in the interim provincial committee of the ANC. So she is also trying her luck and seeing if she can become the female chairperson of the ANC here. The name of Vus Shabalala, for instance, is also touted. Vus Shabalala is the former mayor of Metsimaholo, and he's also eyeing that position of chairperson. There's also the name of Sam Mashinini, who was previously the deputy chairperson to Ace Magashule. His name is also touted. At this point in time, I'm not too sure if all these people have really reached the threshold from the branch nominations, and even if they didn't, they still stand a chance because the nomination will also be opened from the floor, and they only need, I think, 25% threshold in terms of the number of voting delegates. So there seemed to be so much interest, and you would recall that Xolisi Dukwana, who seems to be having the upper hand because almost everybody is complaining about him, and they are saying that he is rigging these elections, a charge that he dismisses really. And this is the man who enjoys the support of, or he's got an ear of the party president Cyril Ramaphosa. He's got an ear of the Secretary General Fikile Mbalula. He seems to be having the upper hand, and also considering the fact that he is the incumbent. So it's going to be a tall order for the other people to really defeat him. We have heard Ace Magashule speaking yesterday before he appeared in court on his corruption-related matters, also weighing in on the politics of the province. This is one man who's been a feature in the politics of the Free State for a very long time. So whatever he says definitely does resonate with some of the sections of the ANC in the province. He said that he has told his fellow comrades who want to contest Dukwana, saying that, look, you stand no chance. This conference, in his words, he says this conference has been rigged already, and we put it to Xolisi Dukwana to say, what do you respond? How do you respond to these remarks by Ace Magashule? And he was like, look, that man has been a chairperson of the ANC in the province for a long time. If he's claiming that we are rigging the process, it would possibly mean that having been chairperson for that long, been winning those conferences, maybe he knows the procedures and processes of rigging elections, and he's dismissing the allegations that this conference is going to be rigged. So, according to Oupa Khwabane, the nomination of the top 5 leaders will happen today, and the election will happen today. He just did not want to commit as to when we are likely to know the results.
That is a very important name that you mention quite a number of times, Moloko Moloto, that of a former chairperson of the province, Ace Magashule, talking about issues around rigging and that those who enjoy his support or his allies, if you will, have no chance of winning at this particular conference. It then begs the question, Moloko Moloto, as we get into the nominations process and ultimately the election of the top 5 and the PEC members, these parallel branches within the provincial structure might hamper the work that needs to be done by the ANC in the province. And I wonder, just based on your engagements over the last 2 days or so, is that a huge worry for those? I mean, David Mahlobo did say that the conference will happen and everything will be sorted, but the parallel structures that exist surely will dampen the efforts of the party to really serve the province, won't they?
Well, the issue of parallel structures, Rofiwa, is a major conundrum for the African National Congress from the branch level. Speaking to the ANC members and leaders here, they do attest to the fact that you have at the branch level people who someone will call himself a chairperson and the other person in the very same branch will call himself a chairperson. So the parallels are happening at that level. But also bring it to the regional level. Here where we are in Mangaung, where in the area of Bloemfontein and other areas, in November there was a regional conference of the ANC. Now, some of the members of the ANC who were not happy with the process of nomination leading to that particular regional conference went to court and they wanted to interdict that regional conference. Unfortunately for them, their case was dismissed. The court said the conference must continue. It happened at the very same venue where we are. Now, those who were unhappy with the outcome of the court decided not to join their fellow comrades and participate in that particular regional conference that was taking place here at the Imvelo conference, Safari Conference Center. They went to the President Hotel in the CBD of Bloemfontein and they held their parallel conference there. They elected their regional structure there. As we speak, there are 2 parallel regional executive committees of the ANC. When you speak to the interim provincial committee of the ANC that's being chaired by convener Mxolisi Dugwana, they don't recognize that structure that was elected at the President Hotel. They recognize this one that was elected here at Imvelo. But the Mr. Mahlobo, who is here leading a task team of the National Executive Committee members, in fact, he is here. If Mhlonishwa, if you can come and join us just to give us an update. Opa Khwabane, the spokesperson, doesn't want us to speak to NEC member David Mahlobo. Okay, he's telling me that they are going to hold a media briefing. But Mr. Mahlobo yesterday told us during a media briefing that he has compiled a report, and that report must first serve within the structures of the ANC before it can even be issued out. So he has not really taken a position from the NEC's point of view to say which structure in the region of Mangaung do they endorse. But then you also have a similar duplication, 2 parallel structures of the REC of the ANC Youth League here in Mangaung. So the issue of parallels is prevalent right across this province. We know another regional conference that was held in November in one region, Lejwe-Leputswa, which includes the town of Velkom, is now being contested in court. So people here are very litigious, and it's going to be a tall order for the newly elected leaders of the province emerging from this particular conference to try and reconcile and heal the divisions that exist in this particular province.
Yeah, and that, of course, Moloko Moloto, is going to have quite the impact on this renewal agenda that has basically become the main slogan of the party at a national level, in that there needs to be an internal sense of renewal before we can go out and do our work as elected members in power in government or within the ANC structures. What does this mean for this renewal agenda that's always bemoaned about? I mean, mean, it was said earlier on in different reports that the factionalism and the support for Ace Magashule is going to put a huge risk on this agenda. And just based on what you've just explained to us, it would appear that is exactly the case.
Well, this conference, Rafiwa, in fact, I'm trying to reach out to my phone. They say this 9th provincial conference is being held under the theme Unity and Renewal in advancing the people's interests. So, firstly, they will have to unite these warring factions from the branch level up to the highest structure. And when you talk of renewal, some people will say, what shape does this renewal have to take? Will those who lose accept that and rally behind and support those who are elected? Whomever is elected, will those who do not emerge accept those who are elected? Of course, that is a question nobody can answer at this point in time, and it will have we'll have to wait and see whether after this particular conference there's going to be unity. But if you look at the tension here, it may not be an easy thing. Not too sure if it's impossible, but certainly it will have to take a lot for those who would have been elected to guide the structures here towards that unity and renewal project.
And then finally, Moloko Moloto, you mentioned in your first answer very briefly that it is expected that National Chairperson Gwede Mantashe is supposed to open the official proceedings of the conference, followed by President Cyril Ramaphosa closing them at their conclusion. Is this going to happen? You have asked people that question and you haven't received a direct answer, but I'm hoping that you've spoken to people behind the scenes and they've given you some kind of clarity as to who will be taking the podium to open and close these important proceedings for the province.
Well, this we can say it's on record. The party leaders have said to us during a media briefing yesterday that Gwede Mantashe, the national chairperson of the ANC, was supposed to open this conference yesterday. We understand that he's in town already, and obviously the conference was supposed to close tomorrow on Sunday, and they had said that party president Cyril Ramaphosa would come and close it. At this point in time, it all depends as to whether the conference will get underway, but they are confident that having passed, because they say the hurdle of registration is now behind them, they are confident it will certainly commence. They accept they are late. It was supposed to start at 9. That's today. Of course, they've already lost yesterday when they could not officially start.